Good day, friends. My name is Paulo de Alba, and welcome to Pathways of Hope. Today's gospel is taken from Mark chapter 3, verses 13 to 19. Jesus went up on the mountainside and called to him those he wanted, and they came to him. He appointed 12 that they might be with him, and that he might send them out to preach and to have authority to drive out demons. These are the 12 he appointed: Simon, to whom he gave the name Peter; James, son of Zebedee, and his brother John; to them he gave the name which means sons of thunder; Andrew, Philip, Bartholomew, Matthew, Thomas, James, son of Alphaeus, Thaddeus, Simon the Zealot, and Judas Iscariot, who betrayed him. As I read out the names that Jesus called, I can't help but be reminded of my childhood when I used to play outside and play games with my friends. Actually, my older friends, because I played with my brothers and sisters and their friends and our friends in the neighborhood. And we need to play two teams. We need to pick two teams. And during that game, like a kickball game, so definitely we'll have two teams. And it reminded me of that time when the team captains were calling out the names of the players that they wanted on their team. And I would always get picked last. And I felt bad because I knew I was there simply to make sure that all the teams were even. But I was the one picked last. In fact, it made me feel like Judas Iscariot being the last one picked. But for Jesus, when he calls us, there is a purpose. Though I felt like I didn't have a purpose in that team when I was younger, but when Jesus calls, he gives you a purpose. Even Judas Iscariot had a purpose. Him betraying Jesus is another story. But for Jesus, when he calls you, there's always a purpose. Speaking of purpose, when I was about 15, I was looking for purpose in my life. I felt a little bit lost. I was sad. I didn't know what to do with my life. I felt like I had no direction. And I was asking myself, what is the purpose of my life? I didn't know God at this time. And lately, I've been watching the show or the series Manifest. In the series, there's a group of people in the plane who disappeared, and then 5 years later, they came back. But when they came back, it's as if nothing happened, as if no time has lapsed. And as they came back, they've been hearing callings of their own voices, other people's voices, asking to do something. And it became their purpose. But they didn't know where it comes from. They didn't know what's the purpose of it. The blessing for us is that as Jesus calls us, we have the Bible to know and find out God's plan for us. That God's love is real. That God's purpose for us in our life is there. The Bible, for some people, in fact, they say the Bible is the basic instructions before leaving earth. God left us a manual. The people in the series, the Manifest, they had to search everywhere just to look for their purpose or the meanings of their callings. We are blessed to know that Jesus calls us for his purpose. First and foremost, to have a relationship with him, to experience his love. But secondly, the purpose that he calls us is to transform us. As you can see, he even changed the name of Simon to Peter because it changes his purpose. He gave us, he made us, he created us different for a purpose. I cannot do what you do. I cannot do what the other disciples or the apostles did, but he created me to be me for a purpose for his kingdom. And I need to figure that out. And one purpose that we have is to simply spread the love he has. His great commandment is to love him above all and to love others. We're in a world right now where it's dark. There's a lot of loneliness. There's a lot of sadness. There's a lot of grief, anger, negativity. Our purpose here is to express God's love, to express goodness, to be light in this dark world. So God calls us, just like in the passage, but he calls us because he wants to operate in our life. He wants to operate and to put change in our life. For many of us, we think that the transformation that needs to happen is to become the best versions of ourselves. But really, God's calling for us is to die to ourselves and to be more like Christ, to allow the light of Christ, the life of Christ, and even the love of Christ to live within us. So God calls us, God operates in our lives to transform us, but He also moves us. He moves us, our hearts, to love others, to serve others, to have mission. But He doesn't stop there. Lastly, He empowers us to do the things He asks us to do, to live out our purpose. So He calls us, He operates in us, He moves us, and He empowers us. So God's invitation to you and me is to actually come to Him and to be light in this world. God bless you and have a blessed weekend ahead. Again, my name is Paulo for Pathways of Hope.